Hey chums, welcome back to A Game with Chums podcast. I'm your host for today's episode, Paulus, Paulie C, Paulie D, Paulie triple star B. Yeah, that works. Joining me, as always, is my ever faithful compatriot and brother in arms and all round nice person, the ever bearded Mr. Roars. Mr. Roars, how the devil are you? I got to stop swearing.
Bearded.
I mean,
I had
like,
a beard when I was like 10.
no, you had. Yeah, I seen pictures of you when you were a young child. You were very beardy.
I was just drawn on for effect.
Yeah. Oh my god. But how you doing, man? Good.
Yeah, I'm good. Not bad. It's the weekend, so it's Sunday, which is the worst part of the weekend, but it's still the weekend.
There's a thing they say called the Sunday Scaries that I see a term being used. It means a lot of middle class people say that it's because you got Mondays the next day and people get anxiety about the working week. I feel like a weekend's just not long enough. 2 days. I'm really hoping they introduced a 4-day working week, which they've been floating around the idea. That'll be pretty cool.
I remember there's a news story about it recently, and someone commissioned a survey, and they were like, the vast majority of people said they would be happy to do a 4-day working week if they got the same wage. I'm like, yeah, no shit. Who wouldn't be happy about
who wouldn't
that?
be? I mean, I suppose you would work a bit longer. Instead of 9 to 5, it'll probably be like 8:30 to 6:30. But a couple of hours to have a whole day, have the whole Friday off will do. I think you'll be more productive as well, because let's face it, sometimes you're at work and you're just sitting around not really doing much. So
there's always a bit of downtime.
There was a bit of downtime. I mean, like, countries have implemented that and they seem a lot happier. I think Finland has a 4-day working week, and Norway. I think Norway. It's one of those Scandinavian countries. They introduced it, and people are a lot more happier. You get to spend time with friends and family, and it's good for your mental health. Because let's face it, we all need that these days, man. Like, the world seems to be going to shit, and we might be at war with China or Russia one day. So let's enjoy things while we can.
So at least give us an extra weekend day.
Yeah, I mean, like, I have no time to play video games like these days because you got work commitments and your family commitments and all that. And the only time I do get to play is on the weekend, and that's sometimes when we got stuff on, you don't get to do it. You can't play anything, and you buy all that. You got more money like when you're older, but you got no time. It's just sad, man.
All of these games that I haven't played.
I mean, these are retro games, but I do have like a stack pile of games just not even been open. I'm just thinking, when am I going to get around to playing this? But I still buy it anyway, knowing that I probably will never play some of these games. But when you have a hobby like gaming, it's in us to buy games that probably we'll never play. We just like to have them sometimes.
Right? When you're a kid, you might get 1 or 2 games a year, and you just replay the crap out of it. And then you get older, you're like, I can buy all the games I want. And then now you've got like 5% of the free time you had when you were a kid.
Yeah.
It's not fun. So basically, I think what you're saying is we should move to the Scandinavian countries.
I mean, I think Norway is like quite expensive though, isn't it? I know, like, we think beer here is expensive. Over there, it's like 15-20 euros or something crazy. I'm probably not that much, but it's high. I know that. But the standard of living is much better though in those countries. Seems just a lot happier. I mean, who doesn't want to be happy? What's happened? Why is no one happy no more? No one's happy with anything.
Late stage capitalism.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong, capitalism's good. It is. What's the alternative? Communism? Bollocks to that. That never works.
Or something a bit more socialist than balls out capitalism that just exploits everyone.
I don't know I vote Labour, so I kind of have a social tendencies. I do think there should be a fair shake for the working person. I don't think we should be exploited. I don't think we should be worked to death. I think we should have time to enjoy our lives, because I just don't want to work. Then when you do get to enjoy your retirement, you're probably like, you're decrepit and old, and
and your retirement's pushed back by the time you get
yeah.
there as well. So we'll probably be working until we're 70.
Yeah, I think the Tory government want to up the pension, the retirement age. I think ours is pretty high already. It's like 65.
No, it's like 67.
67.
66 or 67.
Okay. Well, yeah, they want to push that up, so they just want to work us to death, and then we don't get the pensions as well. They want to take away people's pensions. They suck us dry, and then they just leave us to die, and then take away people's pension that they worked so fucking hard for, and then they just take that away from them. So who keeps voting the Tories in, man? We've had the Tory government.
People, unfortunately,
we've had the Tory government for like nearly 2 decades now. When was the last time we had Labour? Who was the last Labour government? It was Tony Blair,
Gordon Brown.
Yeah, but that was still the part. He didn't win an election. He just became prime minister, didn't he?
Blair stood down.
Blair stood down to let Brown take over.
The Tories won. Didn't win. There was a hung parliament in 2010, and the Lib Dems enabled the Tories into power.
Yeah,
I voted Lib Dem in that election because I actually thought Nick Clegg had something about him. There seemed to be a bit of groundswell of support behind him. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to put my faith in this guy. And then they enabled the Tories into government, and here we are 13 years later, still stuck with them. So the Lib Dems can go fuck themselves. I'm never going to vote for them again.
They're kind of like dead now. The party is just dead. They were like a strong third option, but now there's just Labour and Ken. What's his name? Starmer.
Yeah, Starmer.
He doesn't seem to have much about him either. So, I mean, he's perfect opportunity to pounce on the Tories, and he doesn't seem to be taking it. So,
he's trying to appeal far too much to sort of centre-right Tory voters, which I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, well, they need to win back those seats that they lost.
Yeah.
So
I won't say what I think of the people that switched from Labour to Tory. For a certain specific reason. But anyway, getting wildly off topic, talking about how horrible life is in the UK at the moment.
Well, it kind of ties into our subject, like how horrible some games are released. So that kind of ties into it, but we'll get to that in a sec.
It's a really miserable podcast, isn't it?
It's got. I feel like our last few podcasts haven't been particularly like fun or joyful or joyful. Like like I've been, obviously we edit and listen to the podcast. I'm just thinking, damn, some of our subjects are really. We should talk about like something nice, like like flowers and how much gaming saved people's lives and shit like that. But
tell you what, let's pencil that in for the following week.
Yeah, we're gonna
find something nice to talk about.
We'll find a subject. But there was a subject that I was going to think of for a podcast, like. You've got the new Mario film release, Super Mario Brothers, which is doing really well. Some of the critics dislike it, but it's sold. It's done like $500 million so far. It's probably going to go up. I definitely want to go and see it, but it seems like the trend is sort of turning on bad video game adaptations. But we could save that subject for another podcast because there's a few, like obviously with The Last of Us. That's what broke the jinx on adaptations. And obviously got Mario, Sonic, Pokemon. You had Detective Pikachu and all that. That's pretty good.
I still haven't seen that.
I started watching it the other day and then I just stopped. Stopped watching it. I was like, I'm really enjoying it. And then I just went, oh, okay.
This is great. I'm going to turn it off.
I think it was on during the Christmas period, the festive period, and during that time,
4 months ago, Paul.
Yeah,
that was a third of a year ago.
It's funny how fast the year's gone.
That wasn't all that recent now.
I mean, like, it's funny how fast the year goes, man. Like, I swear we were just celebrating Christmas, and I remember as a kid, it seemed like forever to get to Christmas. You know, Christmas has always been like probably my favorite time of the year. I know a lot of people think Halloween's of their favorite time. I'm just like, no, man, what is that? Come on, get out of here. You're just being a hipster now. Halloween's not a holiday. We don't even get any time off work, so fuck that.
Man, if you did.
It would be good. I mean, like when you think about it, Halloween is a pagan holiday, is a pagan festival. So if people are pagan, shouldn't they get that off? But I don't know. Maybe like we'll be like this country needs to be pagan. I think we
Maybe
should
if we
bring it
overthrow
back.
the monarchy in the Church of England, we can get
Yeah,
Halloween off.
yeah. We'll bring back the pagan traditions of our ancestors and
Put like the royalty in a wicker man.
what and burn them.
Too far? Too far?
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, like, come on, Ross. Like, we're not anti-royalists. So our king is having his application. He's having his coronation. Yeah, and you're getting that off as a bank holiday as well. So there's some things to be grateful for. When the old Queenie died, you had that off as bank holidays.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain about an extra day off work, but I mean, they take more than they give back. So.
I see that around where I live, there's some people anticipating it. They got like hunting and stuff, and the Union flags up and pictures of the Queen. So it looks like they're going to have like some sort of party on the weekend to celebrate the King's coronation. But
like
I can
coronation chicken sandwiches and warm beer and stuff.
I mean, I'm not
English favorites.
I can't stand the royal family. To be fair, I'm not a big fan of them. People go, oh, but they bring so much tourism. The tourists don't get to meet them. They come. Do you know what I mean? They don't visit the royals don't visit the tourists. They don't say hello to them.
They greet every single one straight off the plane at Heathrow Airport. Hello, how do you do? Welcome to England.
I mean, like we still have the castles here and
that's
palaces.
The thing. People will come to see the buildings. They don't come. They come because that's where the royals live, but it's not like they get to see them. They still come for the buildings and stuff.
Look, I've lived in this country all my life. I still haven't met the fucking royals, so what chance of a tourist is going to see? They don't come down here that often, but
come south of the river.
Don't come down south. They better not as well, if they know what's good for them. And stay out of South London. Yeah. Well, but speaking of which, Mr. Rawls, our subject. Anyway, before we get on that, is there anything you been doing recently? Playing, watching, doing? Have you done anything with your bloody life, you loser?
Nothing worthwhile, no.
Oh well, yeah. You've been collecting anime figures, you big fucking dosser. Don't ignore that. That's not anime. That's art. But it's not like I'm a weeb or anything like that. Speaking of which, holidays and stuff. We'll be going on holiday with mutual friends to Portugal, which I'm really looking forward to because I heard good things about Lisbon. Lisbon's like it's supposed to be a really good city to go out, like really good vibe, right by the beach. Yeah,
well, not a beach, but a river.
Yeah, is it not by the sea?
No, it's on the River Tagus.
Oh, what am I thinking of? I'm thinking of Porto. Yeah.
Lisbon is cool though. I like Lisbon.
Yeah, I've been watching some videos about it. People going there, and it looks like a really fun place to be. People are friendly. Weather will be really warm, so cheap beers as well. I saw some places. So
depends where you go.
I mean, like I want to. They got that beer I really like of theirs, Super Brock. It's a good beer. It's a good Portuguese beer. I've been drinking that a lot recently. Not a lot,
like Sagres.
Yeah, I'm not like a raging alcoholic. No.
It's not like I'm a we're gonna have to hit up every Ginginha vendor we see as well. It's like a sour cherry liqueur. It's very nice. A lot of them sell it in these little like shot glasses made of chocolate. You get a little shot of cherry liqueur. Eat your chocolate cup. It's lovely.
Sounds fantastic, man.
It's just like random people just like selling it on the street.
Random people.
Which is handy because,
yeah,
you're a raging alcoholic over there.
I mean, yeah, a lot of drinking will be done at that. It's us, isn't it? We just love to booze.
Yeah, it's the people that went to Hyper Japan and did nothing but drink.
That whole video I made, I was like, "Oh, it's just us, just drinking,
just bar
hopping, and talking about the beers and spirits we were drinking. Fun times, man. I should rename that video like sort of like." I got to put more thought into like our titles. Yeah, I'm going to put more thought into our like titles because that it seems to be, if you make it more clickbaity and more like suggestive, people will click on it. If you just say
leave you a shitty comment about
yeah, I mean, I'm afraid that's the nature of the game, isn't it?
Engagement is engagement.
Yeah, I mean that's the nature of the game, isn't it? I've heard so many YouTubers say they changed the title of their videos because it wasn't performing well to something a bit more clickbaity, and they say we don't like doing it, but it's just a way to get people engaged. I know, like people like abroad in Japan do it. He's even said it. He's I released a video, changed the thumbnail, changed the title to make it a bit more fun and clickbaity, to just get more interaction. Fair enough. That's their living, isn't it? Because they've got to do what they got to do. And it's not like their videos are bad or anything. They're really good videos.
Yeah,
just
that's the thing. I mean, if you're what's the word I'm looking for? Established, like Chris Broad is, and you can get away with it because people will look at it and go, "Oh, I guess." Like people aren't going to look at it and go, "Oh, who's this guy? Why has he made a clickbait video?" Because they already know who he is and what his content's like, so they're not going to. They're more likely to be like, "Oh, I guess he's doing that to get more clicks." Fair enough. We know what his content's about anyway.
Who's this miserable Brit?
You can leave. That's an oxymoron. You don't need to say miserable and Brit in the same sentence. It's just
say Brit. Yeah, it seems to be like we have a culture of being really misery. Like misery, isn't it? And self-flatulating. We like to say everything's shit and our lives are shit. Everything. We just seem to be born that way. Like, if you've lived in the UK, you sort of, that gets ground into you, doesn't it? Because the weather's terrible most of the time. Things don't work sometimes, and it's just like you just seem to like. What's the term? We just have to get on with it. That's what we do. We just like just is the way it is. Stiff upper lip and all that bollocks.
There's a Bill Bailey sketch that perfectly encapsulates the British sense of ennui, which is he's talking about like how other people greet each other in other countries. And they're all, like, Americans like, "Hey man, how you doing? I'm great. I'm amazing. I'm awesome." And he's like, "And what is it when you're in Britain? How are you doing, John? How's it going? Not too bad." So that's the best we can manage. Not too bad. It could be worse, but it isn't. But it's nearly there.
Yeah, that's my default sort of greeting.
I know. I never thought about it until I saw that sketch, and then I catch myself doing it. Like literally every day at work, someone's like, "How you doing?" "Yeah, not bad, not too bad." I'm like, "I am doing it again."
Yeah, we do it, man.
I've been trying to make more of an effort when someone says, "How are you?" Go, "Yeah, good," but sometimes it's just not true.
But I find it weird. I find it weird when someone's upbeat when you say, "Oh, how's it going?" They're like, "Oh yeah, going really well." Yeah, just whoa. What the hell? Hey, all right, mate. Oh, calm down. What are you so happy about?
Yeah, I get kind of he's not miserable.
Yeah, I get annoyed. Like the other day, I was at work in the office, and one of my co-workers had this big smile on his face. I was like, "What are you smirking about?"
So immediately
really loudly. Yeah. I was like, what are you so happy about? Well, he's got a big smirk on his face. He's like, "Well, I'm just smiling." I was just like, "Yeah, why? Why are you smiling? We need to know."
So good. Explain.
Yeah. It's something like, I don't trust people who are smiling all the time. There's something off about it, isn't he? Just like, what is he so happy for? Yeah. That's why I
smile if someone tells you an agreeable joke. That's it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have a stony, neutral face.
I think we just don't like happy people in Britain. Like, we always say, "Oh, there's something up with that. He's too he's like, oh, he's very positive," but he's not really. Like, the person's not really positive. They're just not miserable. They're
Just
just normal.
reasonably neutral.
Yeah, they're just like, hi, how's it going? Yeah, great. Yeah, just like, oh Jesus.
All
Yeah,
right, Mr. Billy
all
Big
right.
Bollocks showing off
Yeah,
about how
showing off
great your
there.
life is.
Yeah, yeah. You want to be in my shoes? My fucking life's miserable. Bloody hell. But yeah. I've not been doing much. Well, did you actually say you didn't say you did anything, did you? Just did
No.
nothing, nothing, no games, no films,
Well,
nothing.
no, I've been watching and playing some stuff.
Anything in particular?
Well, I played a little bit of the Diablo 4 beta when it was on.
Yeah.
I didn't make a video or anything because I was away both weekends it was on, so I managed to sort of like play half an hour on the Sunday evening before it got turned off. I played
Mm,
enough to know that I'm going to like the game. Um,
mm,
and the hype for Diablo 4 made me sort of like roll a new character in Diablo 2 Resurrected. So I've been playing a little bit of Sorcerer in Diablo 2. Planning on doing a Diablo 3 new character as well, if I can finish Diablo 2 in decent amount of time, because obviously 4's out in June. Jedi Survivor's coming out in
oh
like
yeah.
12 days as we record this. And I love
Yeah.
Fallen Order. I think we talked about it before. We
Mm.
did a video on it when it first came out. And the hype for that has got me because I love the first game. So I just ended up starting a new game on Fallen Order like a week or so ago. And I'm probably about 2/3 of the way through that now. So I'll probably finish that this week. It'd be good
Mm.
to like get a bit of space between finishing one and starting two, but I'm really looking forward to Jedi Survivor. And all the videos, everything I've looked at, they've thrown out, it looks like a big upgrade over the first one.
Yeah, it's a big game as
Proper,
well. Like
yeah,
150 gig.
yeah,
It's huge.
probably too big, especially
I
on
think.
Xbox, given the storage prices on Xbox still.
Yeah,
But
mine's. Yeah.
yeah, what else? Been playing Ease 8 on and off since like January, and I think I'm on the final chapter of that now, so I'd like to get that finished off. And Ghostwire Tokyo just came out on Xbox and PC Game Pass. So I fired it
Yeah.
up just to see what it was like. I've only played like half an hour of it. It seems pretty cool so far.
It's a
You played it
definitive
at all?
version. No, not actually. I was going to do a video on that as well for our exploring Game Pass series. But I haven't got around to it. No, I just keep putting things off. I got into that
Yeah.
stage of like I've been all my life where I'm just like I could do that, something so easy. Just press install and it's doing it, and that's so easy, and I could just do it right now from my Xbox. But I'm just thinking, oh, I'll just do that later.
I'll do it later.
Just do it later. Do it later. Then you just never do it.
Mm,
So like melancholy now. I
yeah,
think I might be suffering from like low testosterone or something. I got that like sort of melancholy feeling. Like I'm just like, I can't be bothered. And I think about it, I'm like, why am I so like feeling so like uninspired and deflated? Maybe it is
part
like,
of it is probably overwork, and the other part is probably just realizing just how fucked this country is.
yeah,
But I've been like that recently.
cost of living. I think I spend too much time on social media. I think I got to put my phone down. My phone, I don't know if yours does this as well. It tells you how much you used your phone, and it tells you if you've used it more last week, and then if you use it less.
It
And
does,
like
but I never look at it.
mine's just like you've used your phone like 50%, like not 50%, 7 hours more this week. I was like, Jesus.
Well, does it give you like a notification about it?
Yeah, it
I
does.
don't
Yeah,
have. I never get. There's an app
I got
that
a
tracks it all, but I never
mm,
look at it, and it doesn't give me notifications. So I just, as far
it,
as I'm concerned,
it's
it doesn't exist.
mine gives me a notification. I'm just like, oh, I need to get off social media. Like Twitter's depressing. TikTok is just the worst. YouTube's good because you get to pick and choose what you watch. There's some great content on there, but like Facebook is just like for family. But those sort of shared social media things, man, like just so depressing, man. It's like what I feel like the West is like crumbling as a society. I think we need to go somewhere new, man. Like let's move
The
somewhere
moon.
like no, like yeah, like somewhere
Find a new
where
planet and ruin that one as well.
I mean, that's our like as a species, we tend to ruin everything. Um, so I'm just waiting for the like. I always felt optimistic when I watched sci-fi shows like Star Trek, where like humanity finally learned to work together, and we accomplished so much by working together and forgetting like cultural differences, race and religious stuff. We just got on and worked together, and we got to the stars. And then like you just
Yeah,
think,
but then
oh,
they run into the Borg.
yeah, Borg is scary. Before that, you had the Klingons. They were a pain in the ass, but we always sort of overcome it. But now you just look, it's just like we're so far away. When are we going to get to the stars and see what's out there? All we seem to be doing is developing AI that will eventually kill us, which it will. It will. Like we're so
First,
stupid.
they'll
We're
make
like,
us obsolete.
oh yeah, we're already obsolete if you make AI. Like if like they'll be doing like some of our jobs will go out the window.
I'm not going to lie, my
Uh,
job could be entirely automated probably tomorrow.
mm,
And that's another thing
um,
that keeps me up at night.
yeah, I think about that too. I'm just like, damn, you got like AI that can create art now, really good.
That's kind of scary.
Uh, that's really scary. I mean, like, it takes it from the internet, obviously, that's where it gets its information from. But to create art in like literally a few minutes or however long it takes like barely any time. Well, it's just really a scary thing to think about it. And eventually we'll make machines, and then the machines will get like self-aware, and then they'll just crush us. It won't be like the Terminator, because I don't think that's just like inefficient way to kill us, because we're like we can survive all that. Just send a
It'll be more like the
disease that would,
Matrix.
yeah, I mean, send a disease like a flu or something that would just wipe us all out. You don't need to like send killer robots after us. Just send like a bacterial disease that would just wipe us all out.
Oh, stop giving the AIs fucking ideas.
Yeah, because I watched like Terminator. I'm like, it's cool, man. This robot that's come to us to kill us all, and we're
Yeah, it's not
fighting
cool if
back.
it kills you.
But no, like you know what I mean. Like if you were to
The
make it
setting
like,
is cool.
yeah, if you like if an artificial intelligence was to think, just go, these are like flesh and blood like beings that are common cold. If we develop like a better form of like the COVID or something, that'll just wipe them all out pretty easily. Like, oh, they'll just take us out. I mean, how many times has the human race nearly been wiped out by like the plague or dysentery and stuff like that? Stuff that we got cures for now, but back then it could have wiped us all out. Like, what was that black lung thing? That thing that makes your lungs, it gives you the cough, tuberculosis, and all that shit. It's like we could be easily killed off. I don't think we need to like hunt the robots to hunt us down in our little sewers and shit and shoot us. We probably could beat. We could, if you've got the weapons, you can beat the machines. But yeah, just to chuck in like like Mr. Burns, like when he had that chemical lab in the 70s. My germs never had a chance hurt anyone, didn't even get the chance to. That's all you need, is just like bacterial factory. I mean, like, there probably are like the chemical weapons out there and shit that definitely can just wipe us out more efficiently. Oh well, this is depressing. Why are we
It's
doing
really
like
it's
this?
really took a turn.
Yeah, I know, man. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
those are the
so
games that I was playing.
yeah. Oh, I
And
haven't been playing
also,
any games.
um, you're probably going to
Yeah.
give me shit for this because I've been watching the Obi-Wan Kenobi show because I still
Uh,
haven't watched it. And
what do you
well,
think?
I kind of I'm in a Star Warsy mood because Jedi Survivor's coming out soon, and I was looking at there was a thread about it on Reset Era, and
Hmm.
one poster was like, oh, I hope at the end of the game Darth Vader just comes and just kills them all, and I was like, that kind of sounds bad. He kills all the protagonists and their friends, and someone else was like, well, they already did that basically at Jedi Fallen Order, the ending spoilers. She turns up out of nowhere and has a little cameo. And they're like, I don't think they're going to rip off Rogue One again. And I was like, oh, Rogue One, I haven't watched that in a while.
It's a
So
good film.
we had that bank holiday weekend last weekend? Time's
Yeah, it
disappearing.
was. Yeah, last weekend. Yeah.
But yeah, so I watched Rogue One again because I hadn't watched it in a few years. Still a good film. Still enjoy it. And I was still in a bit of a Star Warsy mood. Obviously, I'm playing Fallen Order as well, and just kind of, I kind of like that period, like the period between like episode 3 and 4, because it hasn't been explored all that much. And obviously, like Fallen Order falls into that period. Um, Rogue One's right there as well. And then I was like, well, the Kenobi series sits in that time period, and I still haven't watched it. I'd watched like an episode and a half of it, and I was like, it seems all right. But I've watched 4 of the episodes so far, and it's fine, I guess. It feels very rushed,
It
and
looks
there's
cheap.
bits like, yeah, it
It
does
looks
look a bit
cheap.
cheap in places.
Mm.
But it's also like they go to Fortress Inquisitorius and they just kind of walk in and they just kind of walk out, and you're like, really,
Mm.
guys? Like they planned that mission in a span of about 15 seconds,
So
and they just
dumb.
and then they just go there, and they're like, okay, let's go now.
And
And yeah,
hide
they
Princess
lost
Leia
one
under the
pilot.
coat.
Yeah, they lost one pilot. Okay, but like
Mm.
that's like, I mean, I know that you basically do the same thing in Fallen Order as well, but it feels a bit more planned out in that. But it
They
just
get it
feels a
up.
bit,
Sorry, Karen.
yeah, just feels a bit poorly kind of plotted in places, and a bit
You think? Yeah.
too fast paced.
It was
Um,
clearly supposed to be a movie.
mm,
They padded it. They padded a lot. That was clearly supposed to be a full feature length film, and then we're like, no, let's make this into a series. And like,
mm,
okay, we'll make this to how many episodes is it? 6 or something like
6.
that. So they go, we need to pad this out a bit. Let's like pad it out with some nonsense, and that's what it seems like it was. It should have been a movie, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't think much of it. I thought the
I
show
mean,
was pretty subpar.
it tells a story that doesn't really need to be told either, as well. Like it's cool to see the Inquisitors in live action. Um, it's cool to see Fortress Inquisitorius in live action as well, because obviously I haven't seen it in
Mhm.
Fallen Order. And it's cool to see this stuff, but it's also like kind of a story is it's as a story, it doesn't really need to exist. Not much really happens other than like obviously Obi-Wan discovers that Anakin survived, and he meets Leia earlier than everybody previously thought he met Leia. Yeah, I mean,
Have you
I'm
watched? Have you
enjoying it
finished it?
enough to finish it, but
What episode are you on? You must be on the
I've
fourth.
I've finished the 4th last night,
Oh,
so got 2
okay.
left.
Yeah, it's not good. It's a shame because I was really looking forward to it, and then
It
watched it. I
should
was
have
like,
been
wow.
something special. It's an Obi-Wan series, for Christ's sake.
And I was like, wow,
But yeah,
this is kind of shit. I was like, oh, our protagonist is tired and beaten up, just like Luke was in the in the Last Jedi.
Last Jedi.
Drink this time he wasn't drinking like titty milk from a space alien. But Obi-Wan's just sitting
Fruit
around on the
milk.
rock. Yeah, just sitting around on the rock, feeling sorry for himself. But at least he gets
Yeah,
back
I'm
into
just like
action.
he's had, yeah, but I mean he's had 10 years, and he's in living in solitude. I mean, you think he could spend a bit of time like meditating and got into training himself in other ways in the Force, but he's just basically all he's been doing is chopping meat up every day and letting his skills rust. Like that seems like a bad
Mm.
kind of thing to do when you're supposed to be watching over Luke, and then he tells Owen that, oh, when the time
He
is
needs
right, I
training.
must train him. Like, how are you going to train him if you like can't do shit?
Yeah, you're like pretty. You probably need training yourself. Yeah, he looks pretty rusty, doesn't he? I was going to
Yeah.
teach him the Force when he can barely use it anymore. But yeah, I mean, I can. They had a good premise. I don't know why they had Child Leia in there, but they needed a reason to get him off the off Tatooine.
Mm.
I never thought that made sense having Anakin born on Tatooine, same, and then
And
have
taking
Luke
Luke
go
there.
take
We
Luke
must
there,
hide
keeping
him
this
on Tatooine.
Tatooine with his family there with the same surname. I think that was just poor writing on George Lucas's part to make everything connect. You don't have to have Anakin born on fucking Tatooine and
Mm.
made C-3PO. It's just so I was just like, oh god, why? Why did you have to do that? It's just so stupid. It's just illogical. But then like people think the sequel trilogy is poorer than the prequels. I was just like, you crazy. There's a lot of problems with the sequel trilogy, but there's no way it's the prequels were better. Just no way. The sequel trilogy was better acted.
Mm.
So yeah, man, Star Wars, great. Did you see recently that they have announced a new set of films to be set after the sequel trilogy? Something that's set like 10 or 15 years in past the Skywalker saga. Ray I think Ray's going to be a Jedi Master rebuilding the order. The kind of thing that Luke should have done, but whatever.
I mean, I'll watch it. I'll be happy to watch it and see how it is. But I mean, I wanted them to step away from the whole Skywalker thing, and I thought that was the point of the final film, was to put a pin in the Skywalker saga.
Well, it not actually takes the surname. She's Ray Skywalker, so it's kind of like living on, isn't it? So
I know they need to do different stuff in different parts of the galaxy. Though there's such a wide universe out there. That's one of the reasons I like Fallen Order so much, because it doesn't really interact with most of sort of the established canon, and they need to do that with the films. There was rumors of them doing like a High Republic trilogy or series at some point, but I don't know what's happened with that, if that's still going ahead or not. But
I know I keep hearing whispers about the High Republic. I don't know if that's going to be a TV show or film. But it'd probably be a TV show. You know, like you got to put some stuff. You got to put stuff on your streaming channel, haven't you? That's why Xbox are buying so many developers and publishers, because they got to put stuff on their Game Pass program. And you know, like Sony are doing their best to stop certain games and publishers from putting their games on their games on Game Pass. But you know, we've been over that so much, so we don't need to tread that again. But yeah, man, like I kind of like falling out of love with Star Wars anyway, so not too much of a. I used to be a really big fan. You know, obviously KOTOR was my favorite game of all time, still is. Doesn't retroactively make the thing bad, but I think like the best thing I've seen from Star Wars is probably like Mandalorian season 1 and parts of season 2. Andor's really good. I mean, I really rate Andor. I think Andor's a underrated masterpiece.
I need to get around to that.
Everyone should go and watch it. Like, people say it's slow. It's not got lasers going off and lightsabers and all that, but that's what makes it but good. It's sort of like not more grounded, but it's a really well written story, and it has consequences and actions to the plot. All the protagonists seem to be pretty well written, and it's just a good show. You know, who knows if you needed a show about that guy from Rogue One, but my God, it's bloody good, and it's a shame that it's didn't get this sort of attention that I think it deserved. I think a lot of people are missing out on it.
Everyone I saw was raving about it. Like every time I saw it mentioned, people were raving about it. So yeah. I feel like it was at the very least well received. But I need to get back to it. I need to get around to it. Like I said, I'm like way behind on Star Wars stuff. I haven't watched Boba Fett.
You're not missing
out much. I've also heard is not great, but
it's not good.
It's kind of required watching for Mandalorian season 3 as well. So
yeah, I know it's good when the main character takes a back seat in his own show. I mean, I started watching Mandalorian season 3, and I stopped watching it because I was like, this is just what's going on. It's just lost its way. This isn't the way, and yeah, it's just not very good. If I was going to be brutally honest, which I never thought never thought I hear myself saying that about Mandalorian, but it's just not that good. But yeah, I mean, like, we were going to talk about a main subject today, but we've gone on off so many tangents and stuff and off the topic. But we were going to talk about we are going to talk about games being released in the poor states and how it's becoming a more of a frequent thing these days. I mean, like, we heard that Redfall the eagerly anticipated Xbox exclusive, is going to run at at 30 frames per second on console. And obviously, fans have been upset, and fanboys of Sony have come out to use that against the game. Yeah, it
I
was
think
just
that's been the majority of the reaction, to be honest.
Mm. And like, how do you feel about this, man? Should you think it should just be delayed until they get 60 frames per second on console?
Well, I mean, it's been delayed once already, so probably not.
Yeah.
And delaying it would they delay it on both platforms or just on Xbox? I mean, it's not a good decision either way. If they delay it on both, then people on PC are missing out for no reason. If they delay it on one, then people on console would be like, well, why didn't you just give it to us at 30 and then give us an update later? Which is what they're going to do. So I think that's probably the best choice they could have done. But I mean, I think it's unfortunate because I'll be completely honest with you, I don't play games at 30 FPS. I just can't manage it these days. It's just too
slow.
low. Especially because I've got an OLED as well, and 30 FPS games look horrendous on an OLED. Like they look like a slideshow. So I just can't do it. But I mean, I'll just play it on PC instead because I have that option. So for me, it's a total non-story. People that are only on console, well, I mean, you've played 30 FPS games before. It's not going to be a massive. It's not going to be. It's not like the same deal as like The Last of Us remake that came out on PC and was completely fucking broken.
Absolutely shit. I mean,
that got some negativity, but it mostly turned into like memes. And then the reaction against Redfall has been much more pronounced. And like looking on Reset Era, the thread about it coming out at 30 FPS is far and away the largest thread the game has ever had. Like all of the gameplay, like all of the trailer threads and like the gameplay threads and like threads for like IGN first coverage and stuff like that have all got like been a handful of pages, and the one for the 30 FPS one is like 20 odd pages. People didn't really give a shit about the game until some negative news came out, and then they wanted to jump on it, and that's
I mean that seems
that big a deal.
That's again a thing against Xbox, and you have you have the broken joke that was The Last of Us Part 1 on PC, but then people making jokes of it. Game publications were making fun articles about it and laughing about it. And if I was a consumer, I'd be like, "What is this?" I don't know if it's like Sony, like they seem to port their games really poorly. I don't know if that's a ploy by them just to go, well, yeah, you buy a PlayStation and it'll be better, isn't it? Maybe, I don't know. My conspiracy head kind of thinks like that a bit.
Well, I mean, some of their PC ports have been really good, and then some have been not very good. The Last of Us remake is the absolute worst. It's terrible. I was looking forward to it because I have the game on PS3 and PS4. I don't have a PS5, so I didn't get to play the remake, but they announced it for PC pretty much the same time. So I was like, all right, cool, I'll play it on PC. I was looking forward to going back and replaying it. It's been a few years, and
it's a good game. It's a good game. I really like it.
It's a great game.
Yeah.
And I was looking forward to checking out the remake on PC. It came out sort of like towards the end of a month as well, I think. I think it was like towards the end of March it came out. And I was like, cool. As soon as like payday hits, I'm buying that. And then like all the videos came out like a day or two before payday, and I was like, thank God that saved me like 35 quid, because I would have been fucking fuming if I'd paid money for that for my fucking paycheck and it just didn't work. So at this point, I'm just waiting for it to be fixed and then I'll buy it. But yeah, like outlets making fun of it and like playing up the memes and stuff and going, oh, look how funny this bug is where everyone gets really wet as the cutscene goes on. It's like, yeah, okay, that's whatever, but like people are paying for this game. They're not able to play it.
Do you think
seems like a weird double standard? I don't know.
Yeah, do you think it's because it's PlayStation and it's a beloved game like that people are not more incensed about it? I mean, obviously there are, but it seems like it's that sort of not acceptable, but yeah, like they say, playing it off as memes and jokes and saying that it's not quirky. But I saw an article, I can't remember the title, probably from Kotaku or something, saying this is the bug you didn't think you wanted, but you didn't think you needed, but you should try it. It was about the characters becoming wet during the cutscene, and I remember there was an article about it.
I mean,
Like
to be
saying,
fair, it was kind of a funny bug.
it's funny, but then you're
But
thinking,
still,
Jesus, what is going on? I mean,
you still paid money for the damn thing.
yeah, and then obviously with the Redfall being released in 30 frames, 30 FPS, sorry, it's like it's the world is coming to an end. But it's not like games. It seems like it's more of a trend, of a thing now, where games are being released buggy, incomplete, in a broken state. I mean, just look at Cyberpunk 2077. What a terrible launch that was. Um, I think
Especially on the last gen console, that was
it's
not
unplayable.
that was an
It's unplayable.
unacceptable release.
Yeah, I think they pulled it from. I know PlayStation pulled it from their store. I think Xbox did as well. It's just unplayable. That's why big opponent for moving on from last gens. Like, because it's just you just get held back. I mean, how long has the current generation consoles been out? 2-3 years.
2.5 years now.
I mean, like, let's stop making games for the old consoles.
I mean, I get
Let's
why
move
there's a
on.
large audience there that still have
Yeah.
those. Like, between PS4 and Xbox One, there's probably like 170 odd million machines out there.
Mm.
So I get why they'd want to target it, but if you can't freaking run on that hardware,
It's what's the point then?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Cyberpunk was unacceptable, just straight up unacceptable. That should not have been a product people paid money for on those platforms.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, it seems like there's always the odd game that comes out kind of unfinished or buggy or um, heaven forbid, completely broken. But it does seem like it's happening more often than not recently. I mean, obviously, like Red Bull, that's a thing. That's a thing that will get an update. They said it will get a 60 FPS update somewhere down the line. I imagine, because they were talking about this prior to release, I imagine it's like obviously because it's a co-op game. In co-op games, you tend to have players kind of tethered to a degree, as we discovered in our even Halo Infinite does that, as we discovered in our ongoing Let's Co-op recently. We just kept teleporting to each other when we were like 100 yards apart or something. And they were talking about that before release. They weren't sure if they were going to tether it or be untethered. And I think they announced recently that it was going to be untethered. So I'd imagine that's probably a consequence of that. Probably been playing around with it and then think, oh, we can get this working, but not at 60 at launch. So I think that's probably why. So they probably had to cap it at 30 just to get that working, and then they'll probably be doing more sort of work on performance as time goes by. But it's not what anyone wanted, obviously. For a fast-paced first-person shooter, higher frame rate's better. So I can understand people being disappointed by it, but it seems like the reaction has been a bit outsized. But then you've got that, and then you've got, as we mentioned, The Last of Us PC recently, which is just completely busted. Like that should not be something people are paying money for. Similarly to like Cyberpunk on last gen platforms, that's just unacceptable to charge people money for that. It barely freaking works, and it was like using up like 12 gigabytes of VRAM and stuff, and just that's absurd. And then even just before that, like Resident Evil 4 came out and it was kind of broken. Like it didn't, you could barely play it on Xbox because of the way they programmed the dead zones on the controller. It had loads of visual issues on the PlayStation versions, with like some kind of weird reconstruction bug going on that made it look really blurry and messy. And they've been patching that up. Apparently it's a bit better at the moment, but by the sounds of it, they fixed the dead zones on Xbox but made the image quality worse. I don't know. It's just more and more these games seem to be coming out unpolished, and I've seen a lot of people discuss like, is it because now like everyone's connected and they know they can just push out an update, whereas in the past like that wasn't an option. And I was watching not to call out the Happy Console Gamer here because I like his content, but he was complaining about it in a video recently and saying, "Oh, now that we're online, people just like throw stuff out and then patch it up." And it's like, does anyone remember when we just used to get games that worked day one and they were fine? I'm like, well, mostly, but you still get games where there were bugs and they just had to release it and there was no way to patch them. So I'd rather have the ability to patch games than not, because I mean, if I remember, there was a fairly reproducible bug in Metroid Other M, which just completely stopped your progress and it just killed your save. You know, you want to be able to update something like that. But it does kind of feel like we've got to a point where they're like, all right, it's acceptable. Let's just put it out because we need to put it out and then we can patch it. And it kind of ruins the day one experience. But then, I mean, how much is that a problem for you and me? As we were saying earlier, that we don't even fucking play games these days. They just sit in packaging for weeks. So you and me tend to come to these games later anyway. But.
Yeah, I mean, and especially with like Game Pass now, where you got so many games at your fingertips, it's just like, oh, when am I going to get a chance to play everything? You do. I mean, obviously, like if you were doing this for a living, if you were doing YouTube for a living, obviously you play it because that's how you make your money. But you know, obviously that's we don't do that. So it's just like, when can I get the time to play? And it's like neither of us, like we don't have like partners. So that's like once you get a partner, then you're more, unless they're a gamer as well. Then
this really is a depressing episode, isn't it?
It is just call it the British depression episode. Podcast. Yeah, the British podcast. Just tea. I mean, like you were drinking a cup of tea a while back, but I think you clearly finished it. But yeah, that girl would have been the icing on the cake with your cup of tea there as well. You know, all you need now is like a cake or a scone or something, and then you'll be playing up to that.
Crumpets.
I love a good crumpet. Do you put jam on yours or?
Nah, just a bit of butter.
Just butter. I put jam on mine. I like jam on crumpets, not on toast. I don't think it's not good on toast, but on crumpet, it's the business. Like if you listen to, I know people in America and Canada listen to this because it's on their on my breakdown of our listeners. So yeah, try a crumpet. It'll change your life. It's really nice. I think you guys got something similar over there, but
and then when and then the next time someone says, "How's it going?" you can say, "Not too bad."
Yeah, it's all right, I suppose. How was your weekend? Yeah, it was all right. Yeah. How it's like when you get back from a good weekend. Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, it's okay. Shame it's Monday, though.
Yeah. Should we just throw ourselves off for a bridge now? That's our mentality. But saying that, we don't have that many suicides in the UK as I can think of.
It's like some countries. We've all gone so far. We're now through the bottom, and we can't even be bothered to do that.
We don't want to inconvenience anyone as well. So we don't do that.
So let me ask you a question.
No.
What is the most broken game you've played?
Ooh. Most broken one. I don't know. I can't think of any off the top of my head. It's a damn good question, though.
I think we have so much like pre-release material these days that we kind of, it's easy to see when a game is busted and then just not buy it. Like obviously I was saying with The Last of Us remake on PC, really looking forward to it, and then all that stuff came out before like payday, like a day or two before I was going to buy it, and then I was like, I'm not buying that then. I kind of feel like we got so much stuff. There's so much like footage out there and streamers and people doing like stuff on YouTube that you kind of see what kind of state a game is in before release. I can't. think the last game I played that was like completely busted, other than there was one on the PS3, which is kind of um, legendary for how poorly it runs. Drakengard 3
Yeah.
literally drops into like single digit FPS at times. And it's not a
Mm.
good looking game either. It's a pretty poor looking game.
Mm.
It still runs that badly.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I mean, that was like 2011 or something, maybe.
Yeah. I'm trying to think
I
of
don't know.
like one I've played that's like you said, like you, when you hear about a game being poorly optimized or released in a broken state, you normally hear about it quite like from reviewers and YouTubers. And then you tend to stay away. But I probably like Cyberpunk, but that wasn't really broken on that because I played it on the Series X, and it was it was playable. Oh shit, it was playable. It wasn't. I did encounter some bugs, but it wasn't like busted
Mm.
like how it was on like a PC or last gen. But it was kind of like you could see that it was
Held
something
together
like
by
you can't
tape.
the car would just disappear or something like that, or your character would just sink into the ground. So that's probably like the one I can think of off the top of my head. I think I'm being quite lucky not to have played games that have been completely busted. I mean, like I'm thinking like from the 360 era and play PS3. I can't think of any really like games that were like really busted, like or really like poorly optimized. I can't really think of one. Pretty sure there are, but at the moment, I can't really think. We made this whole song and dance about like games coming out in poor states, and we can't actually have an example of our own. But yeah, probably like Cyberpunk,
Mm.
probably the one where I've encountered like bugs where it's just like, whoa, what's happened? My car's disappeared. Like my character's just sunk. But I did actually like Dragon Age Inquisition. There were some like I know some people encountered bugs in that, and I did as well. Like where my character would literally just fall through the world.
Mm.
And
Yeah, I had that.
yeah, I think everyone had that. I think that was a common one. I think it might have been in Skyhold or something in the castle. My character just was like dropped through to the bottom. I was like, oh, great. I'm in the negative zone now. This is good. This is great. But other than that, not too,
Banished to the Shadow Realm.
yeah, not too many games I can think of that off the top of my head that have been completely busted. But yeah, man. But I was disappointed with the Resident Evil 4, like um being poorly optimized on Xbox because it's a shame because like the other remakes have hit it out the park. Well, apart from part three, but Resident Evil 2 was like a masterclass in how to remake a game, and that's a
Pretty
proper
amazing
remake.
game.
That's a proper remake, not like the bollocks that we got with Final Fantasy VII, where it's a reimagining. It's like, but it says remake on there.
It's
It's
literally on the
not.
cover.
It says remake, but then afterwards they're like, no, it's a reimagining or alternate timeline. I'm like, oh bollocks.
Mm. And what
Why
that
didn't you just say
timeline with
that?
the mentors, or whatever they're called.
What the fuck? Yeah,
Death
I
Eaters,
remember
that's what they're called, isn't it?
something like that. Yeah, the mentors, Death Eaters, whatever. And I remember playing it, and I was just like, wait a minute, wait a minute. I don't
Wait a
remember this.
goddamn minute.
I don't remember this in the original.
I don't
And then
remember these ghosts.
it just. I mean, it follows it follows the story pretty much, but yeah. Then that bit at the end, you're just like, what the fuck is going on here? Everyone survived apart from Jesse. Biggs and Wedge survive. I'm just like, oh, but you killed like so. I guess Jesse's just dead now. Like she's not coming back.
I guess the
Like,
only character I cared about is dead.
about dead? Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. And now they've come out and said that yeah, the rebirth is going to be like more of a departure from the current story. So you don't know what to expect. So I was like, well, then it's not a remake, then, is it? It's just your like a retelling or a alternate timeline. So, like there's we're in the age of remakes now. We've had so many games remade, Dead Space remade. We're going to get the KOTOR remake. We're
That
gonna
game
we
worked right
Yeah,
as well. Dead Space actually worked.
worked. Yeah, it got
Right, it had a visual bug on PS5 actually. Now I think
Jesus. I mean, come on. I mean,
Because they used
like
variable rate shading and it didn't work properly on PS5, so they had to turn it off. But yeah,
uh,
I guess there's another one. And seeing as you mentioned FF7 remake, that had some visual bugs on PS4 with like the textures not loading in properly, like Cloud's apartment door, and like the 2D backgrounds of things like Midgar in the distance and stuff that were really oddly low res. But
yeah, I
generally,
remember
that
that.
game ran fine, but it had a few like visual things like that.
Mm.
It was
Like,
mostly a really good looking game, but then there was like the odd really low quality JPEG, and you're like, that sticks out.
mm, yeah, I mean, it's a that it's a it's a thing like with games as well, especially on PlayStation, where they remastered the game for the current gen console. They've done that with The Last of Us how many times? They did that with Final Fantasy, got the upgrade, the what was it, regen, regrade, retrograde, something grade, upgrade, I don't know. Well, you had that Yuffie DLC content in it as well.
Integrate, that's what it was.
Integrate, yeah. So it's a thing that's a thing that happens a lot with certain games. Xbox don't really do that, do they? They don't really like.
They've done
Actually,
ones that
they
are
do.
more
Master
like,
Chief. Yeah.
well, yeah, they've done ones that are
Mm,
more like a full visual overhaul, which is kind of like what
mm,
The Last of Us remake is, rather than The Last of Us remastered that was on PS4, which was just a sort of like an up-res and running at 60 FPS. But
mm,
they do. Xbox have done it. They've done a fair few, but they've been like full like visual remakes. Like Fable Anniversary was the first one I think they did. And
mm,
obviously like Halo 2 and Halo 1 and 2 Anniversary, um, Gears Ultimate Edition, the visual remake of Gears 1. They've done a handful, but they're not remakes in the sense that they don't really change the gameplay. They just kind of, it's kind of like, here's the original game running underneath, and here's like a whole new graphical layer over the top, so it looks really nice.
yeah.
Which is what I think they did with the that's I think the Monkey Island games are the first ones to do that. Have the actual original game running underneath them, a new visual layer. Diablo 2 Resurrected is the same. You can like toggle between the old like year 2000 or whatever it was version of it, and then you can have the new graphics over the top, which look really nice.
Mm,
But yeah, there are a lot of remakes and remasters going on around. It reminds me of the time I tapped out of horror films because they were all just remakes and like Hollywood remakes of like um, Japanese, Korean, and Thai horror films that were just bad. The remakes were bad, to be clear, not the originals.
yeah. Speaking of those horror films, they seem to there's all there seems to be like a period where one country in Asia produces some absolute bangers of horror films. Obviously, Japan did it, then Korea, Thailand does produce some really good horror films. I watched one recently. I can't remember the name of it, but it was about this girl who's been possessed, and like they got that Buddhist sort of culture out there, and one of them had to like they had to turn to Buddhism to do an sort of like their version of an exorcism. It was I don't want to give the ending away, but it was pretty bleak and really good. But like obviously like Korea seems have done quite a good few horror films. They seem to be doing a lot of like zombie films as well, like to Busan and stuff like that. And the Korean Peninsula, which was an absolute bag of shit. But yeah, well, I'm going off topic again, but I just had to mention that because
It's just a very rambly podcast this week.
it's not really focused this one. It's just kind of good. I mean, we can this is
It's
experiment with it.
it's fun just have a
Yeah,
chat and just talk about shoot the
just a
shit, as it were.
shoot shit when we don't really have a topic. But I notice a lot of podcasts do that. I think we're one of the few that have like not one of the few. Who knows? Like one of the ones that don't seem to has like a general theme, like a topic to talk about. And I know a lot of other podcasts like they just sort of have a very loose theme, and then they just talk and just talk like about anything really. I know like the one that I listen to are like, obviously the trash taste one. They have a very loose topic, but that never, and they sort of talk around it, but then they go off on tangents and stuff, which is cool, man. Like we can do that more sometimes because sometimes we just gotta
I feel like we do
express.
that.
Yeah. I mean, like if you listen to our, when you listen to our podcast, we try and keep it structured. Like we ask each other what we've been doing, what we've been playing, and we go on to news, and then we get onto the main subject. Yeah, because I thought it tied into what we were talking about, really, isn't it? Has there been any news anyway? Like, any gaming news?
Well, there was like a final trailer for Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, was that for what was that for? Final Fantasy?
Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda.
Oh, Zelda. I know there was a state of play, wasn't there?
Yeah, apparently I had no idea until after it had finished. There was a state of play for Final Fantasy 16. But I'm going to be honest with you, I have not watched most of the Final Fantasy 16 promotional stuff. I watched a handful of the trailers.
Are you salty because like
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I am. I'm like, what is the point of me watching all this stuff and going, oh man, the game looks amazing, and then I won't get to play it in 2023. Like, there's literally no point in me watching it because it would just make me annoyed.
You're getting it for PC though, right? When it eventually does come to PC. Yeah.
Well, originally it was a rumor, but by a well-known like person in the industry, so it's basically taken as fact that the exclusivity deal was 1 year console, 6 months PC, and then like Yoshi P, who I got a lot of time for because I love FF14, because all the art books there, I've got it fucking tattooed on me. Came out and said, "Oh well, it's not going to be 6 months. We can't make it in 6 months," and then like proceeded to talk up the PS5 at length. Which, I mean, yeah, okay, they've been paid to make it exclusive to PS5. They're going to end up doing some marketing for Sony, but it annoyed me. And there's just no point in you watching any of the promotional stuff and getting more annoyed about it, because at the very least, it's going to be next year before I play it.
They got clearly there's a deal with Sony and PlayStation, cherry pick their titles and stuff, and they seem to be trying to pay them to keep it off Xbox, especially Game Pass as well. So it's kind of annoying, isn't it? And then they complain.
I don't have any hope that my mainline Final Fantasy will be back on Xbox again at this point.
Yeah, I mean, unless Xbox buy PlayStation, buy Square Enix.
God, can you imagine this? The absolute shit fest that would
be. They did say that they're not done by acquiring studios. I mean, like, obviously, I don't think it'll be a big one like Activision, which I still think if they pull out that deal, I wouldn't be upset about that, because I think you can probably put your money acquiring some sort of diversified, sort of a different sort of developer. I think Activision is a bit. The games are on there. None of them really thrill me, and I think you've got that all kind of covered already. They just want Call of Duty on Game Pass, because that would boost up their subscription. I mean, it's already pretty high, but having that on there as well would be great. And
having all the revenue that Call of Duty brings in as well. That's a lot of money that thing makes, which is another reason why they're not going to make it exclusive, because it'd do more harm than good, really. Well, like, just keep creaming off that money.
Didn't Square Enix complain that they have lost money? They're kind of like struggling financially. I think I saw a tweet or something saying that they're experiencing a bit of a financial downturn. And I remember some people going, "Oh no shit! If you make it exclusive, certain games exclusive to one console, because you're not only like missing out on like money from Xbox and also PC and Nintendo, and even though they still got a strong relationship with Nintendo, it's it does you're wondering why that you you're stating the obvious there. You're like, well, if you didn't like have it a deal with Sony, then maybe you would make more money by having it on more platforms for you. It kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Really,
Guess it depends how much Sony's paying them, but yeah,
you must be paying them a pretty penny, especially to have a Final Fantasy on their platform. As let's face it, the remake's Seven's never gonna come out, and if they do, I think there was rumors of them doing a remake of 9, and I guarantee that will be a Sony exclusive for God knows how many years.
I'm just going to assume everything Final Fantasy is going to be exclusive now, and that unless it's something Sony doesn't give a shit about, like Final Fantasy Origin or Crisis Core remake.
Well, didn't they?
I would be entirely sure that Square Enix has gone to Sony and gone, which ones do you want? And they've gone, we'll have that, we'll leave that, we'll have that, we'll leave that.
Well, didn't they? There was a game that got released recently from Square Enix that completely missed Xbox again. Is it
Octopath 2 did. Live Alive did.
Live Alive did, yeah. So it's not just a Final Fantasy problem. It seems to be a problem with Xbox and Square Enix, I mean, like, what
I think
happens?
the problem is that Microsoft aren't paying them to put games on the system. I think Square Enix expects to be paid. Because Microsoft made an effort and tried to make Game Pass deals for stuff like the older Final Fantasy games to come over, Octopath Traveler. There are a couple of other things as well that I'm forgetting at the moment. And I think Square Enix have just kind of come to the realization, we can just withhold our games, and then if they want them, they'll pay us for a Game Pass deal, which is a losing strategy for Microsoft. Because imagine that, that getting into a habit of that where you have to pay everyone to put their games in your system. Other publishers are going to start doing the same thing and withholding their games and expecting to be paid to do it. So I can understand why Microsoft would go, no, we're not doing that again. But I don't know, Square seem intent on not allowing any kind of audience to build for their games on Xbox. Like, I can understand if at this point in time the sales aren't great, so it may not look like it's worth their time, but it's because they've been so inconsistent with releases. Nobody has, like, I'm a Final Fantasy fan, obviously, as I've said. I have 3 tattoos, 2 of them are Final Fantasy tattoos. And I have no confidence that any games are going to come to my sort of preferred console platform at this point. So I'm like, why would I buy anything if I don't? It's like Crisis Core. Why the fuck is Crisis Core on Xbox when it's the sole reason they put out a remaster of Crisis Core was to reintroduce Zack, because clearly Zack's going to be important in Rebirth. And
he's still alive in this timeline or something, isn't he? What the fuck?
Right. Yeah, literally the only reason they put Crisis Core back out is to reintroduce him to people, because most people didn't have PSPs that played Final Fantasy VII.
I did. I played it on there. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, I've got it right there on my shelf. So that's literally the only reason they remastered Crisis Core, is to introduce Zack to people that don't know who he is for Rebirth. Why put that on Xbox and then withhold the remake? It makes no sense. So if their strategy makes no sense to people that are on the platform, they're not going to invest in their games because they don't know the next game's going to come. So what's the point? So they're not investing in building any kind of audience on the platform. Anyway, I feel like we rant about this shit every episode.
Yeah. Okay. I know we seem to ramble on about that a lot, don't we? We complain about it, and people will say you're just salty, bitter.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm salty about it. Of course I am.
Yeah.
Just like people that are like fans of maybe other stuff, like non-Call of Duty stuff from Activision, are going to be salty if that stuff goes exclusive to Xbox. But I right to be salty about that stuff. Stuff that was multi-platform going exclusive is going to piss people off. So, I'm salty about it. But anyway, let me ask you a question to maybe get us slightly back on topic.
No, please.
What kind of state do you think Starfield's going to launch in?
Oh god, it's a Bethesda game as well, and they're notoriously a bit buggy. So
See, but I think Bethesda games generally are the kind of memeable kind of buggy. They're not generally like game breaking buggy. They're
we're
kind of
game breaking.
usually like, look at this funny thing that happened.
The
This like
head's
this
going 360.
yeah, this giant hit a mammoth and it flew up into the air.
And
That kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. I mean, talk about like companies milking it. I mean, they've been milking Skyrim for like since 2011. So yeah, it's good that they're releasing a brand new IP. Um, I'm hoping. I'm pretty sure it's going to be bugs in it. I mean, it's a Bethesda game, but they're not game breaking bugs. They'll just be like some glitches. Maybe a character disappears or an NPC will like not face you or something like that. Something will happen. But I mean, like, what was the frames on that? Was that clocked at 30 or something like that on
I
the
think so,
presentation?
yeah, in the
Uh,
trailers. I think it was
mm.
30.
So hopefully, like, there's a 60 frame per second on the console. Because then because it looks like there's going to be there's combat in there, so I can't play a shooter with 30 frames. It's not great. There was a bit of screen tearing on there, but they've been working on it for a while, so they need this game to come out and be you know
Good.
pretty good. I mean, it's going to be good. Like, let's face, like, even their or like the Fallout 4 didn't come out to stellar reviews like Fallout 3, but it's still
Still a good game.
pretty good. And I think people are just excited to see what Starfield's about because it's brand new. It's always I get you know I get excited about new IPs. It's like you don't know anything about it. You're just going to discover this new world. Don't get me wrong. I like sequels as well, but I like like new stories as well too. And I do like the I've always been a fan of like more sort of Dungeons and Dragons esque fantasy style games over sci-fi. Even though I love the Mass Effect trilogy, I prefer the Mass Effect games over the Dragon Age games, but I prefer the world of Thedas in Dragon Age than Mass Effect. Even though Mass Effect
World building of Thedas, it's so good.
I mean, like, even though like it's pretty, the first Mass Effect was very grounded sci-fi, more Star Trek and then obviously like in the later games, especially in the third one, it just got a bit, bit more out there, didn't it? It got a bit more sort of like
Space fantasy.
space fantasy, yeah. And still, I enjoyed three. But again, we're getting off topic here. Yeah, Starfield. I think it will have bugs in it. I'll be surprised if it doesn't. But it'll be. I'm just more about interested in just playing it and getting into that world. Is the protagonist going to be a silent protagonist?
Yeah,
It is.
they've said it is going to be because everybody,
Oh,
not everybody,
hated
but everybody hated the voice protagonist in Fallout 4. I liked it.
4.
I liked
I
it.
liked it. I've always preferred a voice protagonist over a silent mute protagonist. It just,
takes me out of it.
Takes me out of it so much. I don't care. Like, I do care. Um, I've always like I can never. I'm wandering around Skyrim, having a great old time with my mute character. It doesn't react to anything. The only time you hear the character speak is when he's hitting things. So kind of like yeah. I mean, I much more prefer. I've always been on the side of voice protagonists. I hate muted protagonists. It's just so
I
like
get
dead.
like one of the main complaints about it is that obviously like the voice line is longer than like the prompt you see on the screen. So I kind of get like people saying, "Oh, well, I read the line what it says, and I select that one, and my character says something different." I kind of get that disconnect, but I feel like there's got to be a way you can sort of like make that better without making the character a silent protag. I've never liked that. I remember when people were like
Mm.
praising it in Half-Life 2 years ago, and I was just like, it's so dumb. Like you're just standing around and people are just talking at you. And like,
Mm.
especially in Half-Life, you can still move around and like hit things with your crowbar. So there's like exposition going around you, and you're like fucking
Mm.
crowbarring stuff and jumping
Yeah,
around and like in
yeah.
teabagging
Well,
characters and stuff.
you having NPCs talk at you, and there's old not Isaac
Gordon
Clarke.
MIT
Yeah, he's just not saying anything. Just
Freeman,
like, oh yeah, Gordon Freeman. Um,
super smart scientist Gordon Freeman, who somehow never learned to speak.
it's a mute. Yeah. But like I say, like Bioware games, or they're like, I know, like in the early ones, the character was silent. You know, I think it was Mass Effect was the first one that actually had a talking protagonist. I mean, just look at the performances of both Jennifer Hale and Mark Meer. Great, like iconic, like voices for the characters. So I, you know, when it's done right, it's good. It's better. And I didn't. I liked the voice protagonist for Fallout 4. Thought they were pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah, I thought
obviously
so.
yeah, it is more connection when you're actually talking and the characters talking back,
I
not
wonder
just
if
having.
part of it is like because some people like see themselves as the character in the game,
Mm,
whereas like the way I view it is like I create a character. It's like character creator. I create a
yeah,
character. They're not me. They're a character that I'm like role playing as,
it's all role
basically.
playing. Yeah, so how I
So
see it. Yeah.
it's like some people are like, oh, well, I don't want to hear him talk if it's not my voice. And that just seems stupid to me. Of course, it's not going to be your voice. I don't know.
Well, do
Maybe
they?
that's where the difference
So
comes in.
they rather just have a line of text, and what do they talk out loud in their living room when they so it can feel more connected? I don't know. I mean, each to their own, but I think it's better. And plus, you're giving like actors paid work as well, so
Mm,
help voice actors out, man. They get paid peanuts, and soon
mm,
that might be taken over by AI.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So
and
let's
be like Darth Vader in the Obi-Wan series.
yeah, synthesize fucking um what's his name? L.
James L. Jones.
Yeah, like because he did sound old in Rogue One. You heard
Mm,
it's like, oh, he goes, well, he sounds a bit tired there. He's really sounding his age there. But yeah, just completely using the AI to recreate his voice. It's kind of weird, but no. And plus, Darth Vader's like, let's just move on from Darth Vader. You know, let's have a new protagonist. We can't keep using
yeah,
Vader.
so a new one, like I don't know, call him Kylo Ren or something.
Oh yeah, Kylo, the whingy one. I liked Kylo Ren. I thought he was
Emo Kylo Ren.
I liked Kylo as a villain, as a sort of bratty
I liked him
fanboy.
when he switched over at the end of the third film and was just kind of
Mm,
just a overconfident dick.
yeah, yeah.
When he materializes a lightsaber, he's just like,
So, like, sorry
"Yeah,
guys.
gonna kill you now."
Yeah. I know some people didn't like that he switched. I knew it was going to happen anyway.
Yeah, it was
And,
obviously gonna. I mean, even Darth Vader switched at the
yeah,
end.
yeah. I know. And he killed younglings as well.
Mm.
I don't think Kylo Ren killed younglings, or he might have done. Don't know.
If he did, we never saw it.
We never saw it, but in Revenge of the Sith, yeah, he's child killer, man. It's like, oh,
Mm.
kind of like you kind of think, is it not really redeemable then, is he? Like,
Mm.
oh, I'm sorry, or tell your sister I love her.
Goes
He
and
just
murders
killed
some kids
kids.
when he's got two kids of his own coming.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he's murdered children by lightsaber. He was. What are we on about?
To shreds, you say?
Cut off this head, youngling's head. He has wearing his skin as a mask. He is skin really dark. Oh Jesus. But yeah, like I think it will have bugs in it. It's gonna happen. It's
Yeah,
gonna
I
have
mean
bugs. I mean,
they make very complex games, and that's why they
mm,
tend to have bugs because there's a lot of interactions going on. Like most game worlds are fairly static. You can't really interact with them. And like Bethesda's games, every object you move is remembered. You can go back there like 20 hours later and it's still where you dropped it in the middle of a dungeon. And
Yeah, it's cool.
and then there's like stuff like traps and stuff like that. It's a very interactive world.
Yeah, I mean, you can
Most
literally
games aren't.
you can literally butcher a whole town, kill everyone there. You can kill apart from the children, but you can kill every
Need a
like
mod for
person.
that.
Yeah, remember in Skyrim, I butchered this whole town or village, and I was like, oh, they're not going to respawn, are they? They're just dead. I had to reload. I was just like, oh, can
Yeah,
I kill everyone? And I was just like, yeah, you can, and they just stay dead.
yeah.
And
So
some of them,
they all have their own like schedules and everything. They go
mm,
to work, they go to bed,
mm,
um, and then you've got stuff like how the stealth system is basically line of sight. So you can just put a bucket on someone's head from behind, and then they
mm,
can't see you anymore. Stuff like that. That just lets you have fun with the systems. But
mm.
they're just very complex games, which is why stuff tends to sort of go slightly wrong here and there. So I agree. I think Starfield's going to have some sort of minor bugs like that, but I don't think it's going to be a mess when it comes out.
I mean, you
A
do
lot
have
of people are
games.
expecting it and hoping for it to be a mess, I think.
Oh yeah, of course. Like, if there is like a bug on there, you're damn right they're not going to get the same treatment as the Last of Us remake did on PC. There's no way they will get mullered if there's any sort of like bugs on that scale in the game, which I don't think there will be. There will be some glitches, but I don't think there'll be anything like on the scale of like
It's not going to be
Cyberpunk.
broken.
No, it'll be a solid game. People are gonna have fun in it. Will it be game of the year? I don't know, man. A lot of people think, you got some people thinking that I'm not a big fan of having a game of the year be a remake or a remaster. No,
Mm.
I kind of like it, want it to be an original game. People saying that you got the um Resident Evil 4 remake. A lot of people loving that. You got Final Fantasy coming out soon. I mean, Starfield's got to be up there on the discussion. I don't think it win Game of the Year though. I think there's just too many people in there who work in the industry who will take offense for it not being on PlayStation. I just think that's how it's going to be like that. Unfortunately, but it's good to have an Xbox game on these lists because it's been predominantly dominated by Sony. Like in the Game Awards, you've had like 2 or 3 games being nominated that come from their studios, which is good. It's good for them and like great. But it must be like kind of depressing for if you're working Xbox and just not seeing your games get in there. Which some of them I think should have been nominated for. Like I feel like Ori the Ori games criminally overlooked. I was like, why is this game not getting any sort of nomination or spoken of it as a game of the year that when it was released? Because the game was visually fantastic, gameplay was solid, great, people enjoyed the game, but it just never got spoken about. I mean, you had like games like what was that game that got released? It was set in the Greek mythology. Oh, it was a dungeon crawler.
Oh,
It got
Hades.
yeah, yeah. That one game of the year,
Damn
and
good
I was
game, though, to be fair.
damn good game. But I was feeling it's kind of similar to how in terms of gameplay to Ori sort of games. You know what I mean?
A
Kind of
smaller
similar.
kind of game.
Yeah. I was thinking, that one, but why didn't that win? It doesn't all have to be big AAA cinematic sort of game. Which like PlayStation produce. You know, so like what was their last one? It was Ragnarok, God of War. But who knows? And like, I'm just be glad to see some Xbox get some sort of recognition for their work
Well, this isn't
that they're doing.
Xbox, at least not yet. It could be in the very near future, but I feel like Diablo 4 will be up in conversation for Game of the Year because there's a
Mm.
lot of positive chatter around Diablo 4 at the moment. One of I think my dark horse for game of the year, and it's probably going to be up there for me, is Jedi Survivor, because like the first game was one of the best games of 2019 for me. Like, I think it was either that or Gears 5 was my game of the year 2019. So I feel like that'll be up there in the chat. In Hi-Fi Rush, I am adamant that that deserves to be in the conversation, but it absolutely won't be. Hi-Fi Rush was amazing. Deserves to be up in the up for like maybe not necessarily winning it, but it deserves to be in contention. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, as far as critics are concerned too, it's one of the highest rated games of the year so far. But it won't be there. I can almost guarantee it won't get a nod.
Yeah, probably not. But it's a shame. It should do. It's a good game. I mean, isn't that it's about having fun and enjoying it? Isn't that the whole point of this? I mean, I keep saying it, like, you don't have to have like, you know, AAA sort of cinematic, like a movie sort of quality game. I mean, they're great. Don't get me wrong. I really like them, but you know, there's other styles of games out there, you know.
In fact, just to back this up, I'm looking on OpenCritic at the moment. Hi-Fi Rush is the highest rated game so far this year. So it deserves to be up there.
Do you think it'll get nominated this end of the year? No.
I think it will be forgotten about by came out early in the year. Generally, games that come out early in the year tend to get a bit forgotten about, but I don't think it's the kind of game that people that vote for Game of the Years are going to remember at the end of the year. Because unfortunately, they are generally weighted towards the big sort of cinematic adventure games, which I tend to find more and more boring these days. To be honest, there are people that feel the same and that feel like the indie scene is sort of where all the innovation is, but I just don't necessarily believe it always has to be the big AAA blockbusters at the top, because a lot of the time they tend to be the safest games. I mean, they always tend to be high quality games because they just throw a lot of money at them, and they've got the best sort of like technical devs in the industry working on them and making them. So they're generally high quality games, but it's very rarely anything new going on in them. But I realise I say that, and here I am getting very excited about Jedi Survivor, which is going to be a big budget AAA action adventure sequel.
Yeah, you mentioned Jedi Survivor quite a fair bit on this episode, man. Like, yeah,
it's just
do you want to talk about Jedi Survivor a bit more? Do you?
It's just that Fallen Order was like everything I wanted for a Star Wars game, like a big, lavish action adventure, story-driven game, which we just don't generally seem to get. I mean, what was the last time they tried the Force Unleashed games? They weren't great. Fallen Order was just everything I wanted it to be. So
yeah, I'm kind of glad that in Jedi Fallen Order that Vader wasn't really in it. I mean, he did pop up near the end, and they didn't have like Cal finding his inner strength and overcoming him. They just ran from him. They ran away,
managing to escape with his life. What an achievement that was.
Just like they even what was her name? The your mentor, the ex Jedi. Yeah, even when she started like to give into the dark side, he still wasn't phased.
Let's do this.
He was like, yeah, that's good. Let's do this. Like, come on,
party.
Yeah, and he was still just like shrugging it off. And I'm really glad. I was just like, because don't make Vader like so easy to beat. He wasn't. He's supposed to be really difficult. In the Force Unleashed, both of them, he like the protagonist just can't remember, Starkiller beats him twice, like not easily, obviously, because he's the last boss, but just beats him like it's no problem. I'm just like, well, not no problem, but just like, oh god, like you come on, like put some respect on his goddamn name. You know what I mean? And I did like that about Fallen Order, that you beat the sister, the second sister. Yeah. And then she's like sort of then Vader turns up and she shits herself and she died. and then you just run from him. You're just like, yeah, this is good. This is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, he's more like a force of nature. He's not really a boss in the game.
Yeah, just no, you shouldn't fight him. And I'm pretty sure that's how it's going to be in Survivor as well. There's no mention of Vader or anything like that. Looks like you got some
I don't
new.
think he'll turn up. I hope he doesn't, because they did the cameo in Fallen Order and it worked. But if they do it again, I don't think it'll work as well. But
Yeah,
from what I've been reading, because I've watched the trailers and this seems to be like hinted at, but apparently like some of the stuff I've read around, you see a guy in a Bacta tank at one point getting thawed out. Apparently he's like a Jedi from the High Republic or something, according to some leaks or something. So that might be where they're going. It seems like he's going to be some kind of antagonist in it.
Yeah, it's like, what the hell have you done to the Order? You guys are shit Jedi.
Oh yeah, he basically says that in one of the trailers. Like, how did you allow this mechanical empire, the machine of an empire, to take over the galaxy or something?
Which is a good question. Come on, goddamn! Like, Palpatine
the
just
question was answered in the original in the prequel trilogy. Everybody loves those movies, right?
yeah, they're great. And then they just retread that same themes in the sequel trilogy. The status quo is back. We got to have rebels and the empire, big scary empire.
I don't know how at some point during like final production of Force Awakens, someone didn't just stand up and go, "Wait, why are we doing this again? Why is there an empire that this supposed new republic is just kind of ignoring, and then like a bunch of scrappy rebels who apparently have no support from said republic, which surely is the republic set up by the rebel alliance after the last empire fell." It's like, why?
Yeah,
just why?
Just why? I mean, they couldn't tell a new story. Maybe. No, we keep going on about that, but Jesus, you could have
probably wrap it up because we're just
rambling about
my fault for saying I was in a Star Warsy mood.
I mean, this is more. I mean, like, we were meant to talk about games being released in poor states, and we're just talking about Star Wars. It's called this the Jedi Survivor podcast, man. Like, I'm looking forward to that, man. That game's going to be a banger, man. I'm really hyped about it. I'm glad that because it made EA money and the game got so many accolades and awards that they were like, oh, maybe there is life in the single player stories, because obviously EA are all about live services and the multiplayer industry
and
monetization, which there will be microtransactions in that game.
I hope not, because the first one didn't have any.
They probably will. They'll probably sneak that in there somewhere. I mean, the Resident Evil 4's got microtransactions in there as well. So I was like, oh, that wasn't in the originals, was it? But,
I'll tell you what I was thinking the other day, like, because I loved Fallen Order. I know you really liked it. I think everyone I know that's played it really liked it. In my head, it was like a well-received game. And I was like, I went and looked it up on Metacritic the other day because I was like, I wonder what the Metascore ended at, because I remember it being really well received and it was a really good looking game, played really well, story was good. Do you know what its Metascore is?
Pretty low, isn't it? Like
79.
Yeah,
79. That seems crazy to me.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I mean, it's one of those ones where probably like the critics will probably look back and go, why that's such a bad take I gave that game,
I don't think 79 is a bad score. It's just, it seems mad to me because I'd give it if you asked me to give it a score out of 10, I'd give it a 9. I love that game.
It's a pretty good game, and I'm glad it's getting a sequel. Hopefully, I'm glad that they took their time with it as well. They didn't rush it out.
They haven't rushed it out.
No. I mean, it's good that they've given it the time. How many years has it been? About 5?
3.5.
3.5.
Came out November, I think, 2019.
I mean, like, EA, they're not rushing their game.
They're certainly not rushing the new Dragon Age.
I mean, when did the Dragon Age Inquisition came out in 2014, didn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's still we don't know anything about the Dreadwolf really. When's any sort of release schedule? I mean, like, are they still working on it? Have they just given up about it? They're just like maybe people forget about it. But yeah, they're bringing back Mass Effect as well. You know, because Andromeda was poopy, so
So it was.
they're probably gonna revive Shepard somehow. You know, I mean, how well before we wrap up, um, how do you think they're gonna start the Mass Effect trilogy, new game, Mass Effect 4? Do you because it's gonna be one of this has to be the ending of Destroy, right? You know, you had the three endings, color coded ones, Synthesis, Destroy, or Control, right? They're gonna go with Control, Destroy, isn't it?
I'd
That's gonna be
imagine
the
so, but then
canon
that means all the whole what's it
relays.
called relay network is destroyed as well. But
They'll find some way of getting around it.
um,
They'll find some bullshit way of
they'll
getting
find
around
a
it.
Prothean artifact that
Mm.
miraculously gets them all working again.
I mean, like it
I
could be
mean, that
set
I
out.
wouldn't be mad about that, because then that would be because then you could the main sort of scenario could be you going around the kind of reconnecting the galaxy and figuring out
Mm.
um how it sort of like almost the end of the galaxy went down for everyone. Visit like Palaven again and visit like Thessia and kind of reconnect them to the grid and stuff. That could be quite an interesting
I
or
mean,
sort of like sorry to kickstart it again, but
I
it would be a
mean,
bit of a ass pull.
Liara is going to be a character in it because she was in the reveal, and
Mm.
Sari's can live for 1,000 years. So it'll probably be a good a few hundred years after the Reaper attack.
I do think
I
they
mean,
need
but what
some distance. It can't be like a week later.
like what's the big threat? They got rid of the Reaper. They destroyed the Reapers. Who else is there? Why like you said, it's going to be like hopefully like reconnecting the universe, and they're going to be obviously there's going to be like warlords and people trying to take a piece of like of the. I mean, you could be like the you know what was the you're the Pathfinder in Andromeda. You could
Mm.
be something similar, like you're there to reestablish the galactic community. Maybe,
Yeah, I think that would be. I'd play that. I'd find that acceptable. But it would be a bit. It would. They'd have to pull it out their arse a bit to get the relays working again. But we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of which, I think we were going to wrap it up there, Mr. Ross.
Before we do, I just want to
Oh,
highlight that I do actually own other clothes. I'm wearing a different T-shirt this week. The last two episodes, I was wearing the same Bleeding Edge T-shirt.
yeah,
I
that
do
dead
have other
game.
clothes
Uh,
this
that
time. It's a Diablo
some
4 T-shirt
yes, yes. Isn't that
with the internet's
what's it?
mummy Lilith.
Yeah, it's the one. I was going to say. I was going to say it was what was her name? Carrigan from
Starcraft.
Starcraft, but it wasn't.
I could maybe see that.
See that, she has that silly.
Same developer.
Yeah, yeah, they are. Now, is that going to get a sequel? Who knows, man? They've been waiting a long time for that goddamn
Well, Phil
sequel.
Phil specifically mentioned StarCraft when like they announced the
Yeah.
acquisitions. I think he would, and like, obviously Microsoft's been going all in on RTS the last few years, bringing back AOE,
Mm.
and then like talking about bringing back Age of Mythology as well. And
Mm.
so obviously they see value in RTS, so I reckon they will. The thing that I'd like to see is I don't know if you remember this years ago, they were making a third-person shooter in the StarCraft universe, StarCraft Ghost.
Yeah, I
And
remember that.
everyone was very excited for it, and then it got cancelled.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
now,
they
like
bring
you've
that
got,
back.
well, I mean, the coalition could do it.
Mm.
Like they make best in class third person shooters, and who was the guy that used to be at the coalition that went to Blizzard, Rod Ferguson.
Yeah,
He's the
that's true.
producer on, he's lead producer on Diablo 4. He's on the Diablo team, but he's at Blizzard. Could make it work, Phil.
Let's make it happen, Phil.
Get on the phone. Well,
Yeah,
obviously the
yeah,
acquisition has to go through first. Get on
yeah.
the
I
phone
mean,
when it does.
yeah. I mean,
The
I know
people want
you.
StarCraft Ghost.
If you listen to this, Phil, make it happen.
Probably not listening though.
Probably not. Can you imagine if he did listen to it? And those guys are right. Those
Gotta
guys
make this happen.
Gotta make
Get
this
on it,
happen.
booty.
Yeah, he just pulls out his phone. He just gets on a flight, kicks his door down. That's how I imagine Phil does his business. If he goes to Japan or something, he's gonna like boot in the door to one of these giant,
and holds up a big suitcase of money.
Okay, big
Make
US
it.
dollar. Yeah. Well, make it happen. He starts pulling out the dollars. Come on, Shinji, make it happen. Anyway, yeah, well, I think we'll leave it there. Yeah, thanks for listening, and thanks for watching. This podcast is available on most podcast platforms apart from Apple Music. Ooh, I don't know why I haven't put it on there. Maybe I should. Maybe I'm missing out on our reach by denying. Yeah, that untapped market, because it's on pretty much every other bloody streaming app. So yeah, but yeah, make sure to watch our Halo Infinite co-op series. Been enjoying the game so far. I've forgotten how good it is.
Damn good game.
But yeah, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next time. Bye bye.
See you, pals.